All right, we're doing lesson number 18. Lesson number 18 is all about fractions. This is the third lesson we've had on fractions. In this lesson, we're going to focus on adding fractions with common denominators. This is the easy thing to do. They'll get a little harder as we move through the year. And then we'll also multiply fractions. So I've got 4 examples right here. I've got 4 examples down below. And then I'll have you practice 2 of them with your neighbor right down here. All right, so let's start with adding fractions with common denominators. Let's start here. Number 1, you can't add fractions that don't have common denominators. They've got to have common denominators. And these have common denominators. So you're good there. You can multiply fractions that don't have common denominators. And that's okay to do. So real quick, ready? You can add and subtract fractions that have, you can only add and subtract fractions that have common denominators, but you can only multiply. Did I say that right? Let me try that one more time. You can only add fractions and subtract fractions that have common denominators. That's correct. And then you can multiply any kind of fractions together. So you don't have to have common denominators to multiply any two fractions together. So when you're multiplying, you don't have to have common denominators. When you're adding and subtracting, you've got to have common denominators. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing, and we'll work through each of these step by step. Here's the first one, 1 plus 2/5. When you have fractions that have common denominators like this, all you do is just add across the top. So 1 plus 2, that becomes 3, if I can add. So it becomes 3 over 5, and that's it. Now, if you can reduce, you got to reduce. So that's kind of important. As a matter of fact, I'm going to change this to a 1. That way we can practice that. All right, so they have common denominators, so I just simply add across. 6 minus 1 gives us 5 over 15. I need to recognize that 5 and 15 can be reduced. They're both divisible by 5, so this becomes 1 over 3, and that would be 1/3. Here's the next one. They have common denominators. The 3's are common, so I add across the top. 4 plus 2 gives us 6. Carry the 3 overs. I need to recognize that 6 divided by 3 is 2. Seven over 8 minus 7 over 8. I have same denominators, so subtract across the top. 7 minus 7 is 0. Carry over the 8. I need to recognize that 0 over 8 is then 0. That's adding fractions. As long as you have common denominators, it's pretty simple. All right, multiplying fractions. Let's do these two. 6 over 2 and 2 over 5. Now, here's the scoop on this. When you're multiplying fractions, reducing is your ally. And if I can reduce, I'm good. But here's how you can reduce. I'll kind of maybe do a little example right over here. You can reduce up and down. You can reduce diagonally, but you can't reduce side to side. So this one's okay, this one's okay, this one is not okay. Let me give you an example. This 6 and 2, I could reduce that if I wanted to. That would be up and down. That's not a problem. I can reduce diagonally, so I could reduce these 2's. That would be perfectly fine. That's like the diagonal right here. But I couldn't reduce the 6 and 2. Can't do that. That would be like going across the top or going across the bottom. So I'll go ahead and reduce the 2's. 2's go into both of them, and 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into once right here. Once you've reduced, your next job is to multiply across the top and multiply across the bottom. So -1 times 6 gives me -6. And multiply across the bottom, 1 times 5 is 5. Now, I can leave my answer as -6 over 5, perfectly fine. Or I could switch it to mixed form, which would be 1 and 1/5. You need to read the directions, and however they describe it, however they ask you to reduce, or however they ask you to put your answers, either in improper or mixed form, you need to do that. They'll probably just have you leave it in improper form. So there it is. Okay, let's go to another one. Let's go to 2 over 5 times negative 2 over 6, which is kind of the same problem actually, but a little bit different. All right, can I reduce the 2's? No, I can't reduce the 2's because that would be reducing sideways. Can't do that. Can I reduce right here? Yeah. 2 goes into both of those. 2 goes into this one time. Let's see, I'm trying to avoid confusing you. So cross out the 2 and put a 1. And 2 goes into 6 3 times. So I have 2 times negative 1 and 5 times 3. Multiply across the top. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. 5 times 3 is 15. I can't reduce, so that's my answer. Let's go to the next one. Seek to reduce. 5 and 10. I cannot reduce that because I can't reduce sideways. But I can reduce the 4 and 10 or 10 and 6. I'll just stick with the 4 and 10. 2 goes into both 4 and 10. This will go in there twice, and this will go in there 5 times. Still, I can't reduce the 5's because they're across. And I can't reduce the 2 and 6 because they're across. I think that's all my reducing, so I'm going to multiply across the top. 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. Over negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. I need to recognize that negative divided by negative is positive. So 25 over 12. All right, the last example, then we'll have you practice 2 of them. Seek to reduce. I can reduce 24 and 3. So 3 goes into both of those. 3 goes into 3 one time. 3 goes into 24 8 times. I can reduce 10 and 20. 10 goes into 10 once, and 10 goes into 20 twice. So now I've got negative 8 times 1, and 1. I can reduce 8 and 2. So 2 goes into 2 one time, and 2 goes into 8 4 times. So now I have 1 times 4, negative 4 times 1 on the top, and I have 1 times 1 times 1 on the bottom. So negative 4 times 1 gives me negative 4. 1 times 1 gives me 1. I need to recognize that negative 4 over 1 is the same thing as negative 4. All right, I've got 2 on the bottom for you. Let's have you give them a whirl. It's 1/6 plus 7/6 and negative 2/5 times 15 over 20. Why don't you take a moment, do that, and then do that, and then check a neighbor. Okay, let's see what you got. Common denominators, 1 plus 7. 1 plus 7 gives you 8. Carry down the 6's. So I get 8 over 6. I need to reduce that. 2 goes into both of them. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times. So that's 4/3. Again, if you had 1 and 1/3, that's fine too. Just make sure and follow the directions. Okay, and this one I can reduce a lot. I know 2 and 20 have a 2 in common, so this is a 1, and that's a 10. I can reduce the 5 and 15. 5 goes into 5 once. 15 goes into, 5 goes into 15 3 times. I think that's it. So negative 1 times 3 gives me negative 3. And 1 times 10 gives me 10. I cannot reduce it, so there's my final answer. Good luck on lesson 18.